the one, the only Alcor Star Child, and I wanted to share with you guys the story of what happened when I had that dream where I met the Hebrews, which I don't really believe it was a dream. You know, it was like I really was there. Sometimes things that happen are not actually dreams. You're actually, you're either having a memory of something that happened to you in another timeline or in another life, or you literally were taken that night from your sleep to someplace else. And in my case, with what happened when I met the Hebrews, I'm almost positive that I was actually taken that night from, this timeline and back into time to meet with the Hebrews, and I'll explain all that in a moment.
I am broadcasting on all AM frequencies. I will be at the South Street Seaport every day at midday, when the sun is highest in the sky. If you are out there, if anyone is out there, I can provide food, I can provide shelter, I can provide security. If there's anybody out there, anybody, please, you are not alone.
When I had this dream about, I think about 2 or 3 weeks ago, I, it wasn't like when I went there and I met the Hebrews, it wasn't like, first of all, I didn't know that they are Hebrews. I had, like, as far as I can remember in the beginning, I had just came to this old farmland, with grass huts and stuff like that. And there was a bunch of dark-skinned people there, and they look black, like African or whatever. And so I realized that that's where I was at. And the people there were trying to teach me how to speak their language. And so one of the words that I remember learning was, they told me it was Senwali. That's what they kept saying, Senwali. And so that's what I thought I was learning. But the word that they were teaching me was Anbak. A-W-B-A-K. So you can see it here. I got it all written out here on the video. You can see there, if you look at the screen, you can see the two words, the Senwali and the Anbak. Now, Senwali, I thought was an African tribe. That's what I thought I was learning. I thought I was learning an African tribe language called Senwali. And the word that I was learning on Bach, I thought that word literally meant hello or something, or was like a greeting. I didn't know what it, I didn't know all this until later after I had woke up. And then I researched it. Like, I've never heard Senwali before, and I never heard on Bach before. I've never heard those words before. And as most of you know who've been watching my videos for a long time, I love to learn languages. I'm at about 12 different languages right now. I'm not fluent, but just enough stuff to break the ice with, somebody who is Japanese, Chinese, Korean, Russian, German. It just doesn't matter. There's so many, Cambodian, obviously. It's not anything that I've ever heard before. I've never heard Senwali, and I never heard Bach. And who has a dream that they're learning a new language? Right? That's like the other thing too that made me very suspicious about this. So what happened was I was asking them to teach me how to speak their language, and they kept teaching me this word, and the word was Anbak, and I was like, Anbak. So I kept repeating it. They kept telling me yes, good, Anbak, and they said that's Senwali. And I was like, oh, that's awesome, So I remember spending most of the day kind of hanging out with them on their farm, and this is like ancient times. This is definitely not our time now, where you have people who live in a third world country thing. This is during like an ancient time, and I know it was ancient time because there was no things like t-shirts and all that and stuff, or jeans or anything, or modern farm equipment. It was all very primitive. So I remember towards the end of the night when it started getting dark and started getting late, and I spent my whole day there with them. And then at the end of the night, they told me I can stay in this hut. So they had obviously gave me a hut where I guess there was another family or somebody probably lived in there, and they went out of the hut for the night so I could stay the night there and sleep there. I remember going in the hut, I remember laying down, and I remember going to sleep. Now, who has a dream that you go to sleep? That's another weird thing, right? So I laid down and I went to sleep. And then I remember waking up in my dream, waking up from sleeping. That's just bizarre. And this is why I suspect that it wasn't so much as a dream. So I woke up and went outside, outside the grass hut. There's I think there was some type of like a grass mat or something over as the doorway, and I kind of pushed it aside and I went outside. And some of the man who was teaching me, who was kind of like my guide when I was there, he greeted me in the morning, and I was all excited, and I remember saying on Bach, and he was like, yes, and he told me it was good. And he wanted to teach me some more of their language, and I was willing, I was eager to learn. And I remember thinking about, I can't just not pay him, right? So I was figuring out with their currency, which I can't even remember I can't even remember if there was like a currency or what they had, but I remember thinking that, okay, so that would be about $20 US, so that's bizarre too, right? Like I was calculating how much that would be in US dollars, because obviously I'm in the United States. And then I agreed to him, yeah, I'll pay you this much per day, which would be the equivalent of $20 a day to learning their language, right? And he had agreed to it, and everything was going good. And then I don't know why, but I said, I have to go. I have to leave. And they were just, and he was just, pretty much telling me farewell. And I said, hey, I have to go. And right after I said I have to go, as I kept repeating myself, boom, I woke up. So I woke up, actually woke up in this reality, that we're in right now. And when I woke up, I got up and I was just thinking, that is the weirdest damn dream. I'm and I was I kept saying, Bach, and Sinwali, Bach, Sinwali. What the hell is that? So then I looked it up. And when I looked up Bach means to wrestle. And I didn't understand why. I thought that they were teaching me a greeting, but instead I learned the word to wrestle. And it wasn't in Sinwali. When I put in Bach, it literally came up Hebrew, which you can see right here on the screen, that it came up Hebrew. And I was thinking, when I looked it up, I was like, that's weird, Hebrew. And I was thinking, oh yeah, there are people who said that the Hebrews used to be black, right? Is that true? Was that what happened? Did I go back in the past and I was learning from these dark-skinned Hebrews the word Bach? And then when I looked up the word Sinwali, right, I looked it up and I was like, okay, so what is this Sinwali? Because I thought it was an African tribe or African language, and come to find out, the word means dark skin or dark hair. So now I'm learning Sinwali, and I'm thinking back about it, and they were telling me Sinwali meant we are dark skinned. That's what they kept saying. When they were telling me Sinwali, they weren't telling me that's the language that I was learning. They were telling me that they were dark skinned. Sinwali means dark skin. And they were teaching me the word to wrestle, Bach, to wrestle, Bach. And when I go back and I think about that now, and I think about the word Bach and to wrestle, what does that mean? Well, I was just on the verge of giving up going into this year with helping the humans as much, as much as I have been, throughout 2021 and 2022, as I've been going through this journey about learning about myself and learning about being a star child, star man, star lord, whatever the hell, but being from the Alcor star system. And this year, I wanted to spend more time just learning about myself, more time understanding reptilians, understanding, explaining the interview with the reptilian woman to you guys and help you guys with that stuff. But it's almost like I specifically was taken by whatever alien species that wanted to take me back in time to the ancient Hebrews for them to explain to me to not give up this fight, right? Don't quit. Don't give up. You have to wrestle. And right, like, so back in ancient times, of course, wrestling was more of a prevalent thing than just as much as the stand-up fight game, right? Wrestling has been around much longer than a stand-up fight game with throwing fists and throwing kicks and stuff, right? People would grab each other and wrestle to the ground. Like it's ancient art of wrestling. So when they're telling me to wrestle, they're telling me to keep fighting, don't give up. And that they are the dark-skinned Hebrews. They are Senwali. And they used a Hebrew word which means to wrestle, which is Ambak. And I just thought I'd share that with you guys. I thought it was just very peculiar. And yeah, and I don't think that it was just a dream. And most of you should already know by now, I don't put a lot of stock into dreams, right? Because a lot of your dreams are just dreams. They're just imagination. And then sometimes you're having dreams that are memories. And sometimes you have been abducted by an alien species and it wasn't a dream. There really was a thing that happened, but when you woke up, you just kind of chalked it up as a dream. So yeah, I think this is one of those things. I actually was removed from this timeline and taken back, because how in the hell would I have learned these words? Anbak and Senwali. And with that, enjoy the rest of the time that you have left.